Welcome and thank you for viewing this elk plan scoping presentation. I'm Scott Thompson, Region 6 Wildlife Manager based in Glasgow. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss local elk management across Region 6. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks is in the process of revising the statewide elk management plan last adopted in 2005. At this step in the revision, we are seeking your input on the existing elk population objectives and local elk management challenges that should be considered in our update. We are here to listen to you, provide information about local elk management, and answer any questions you have. If you want to provide input, we will collect any written feedback that you provide. The public feedback that we gather as part of this process will be considered as we develop proposals for the new elk management plan. Once the elk management plan has been developed and released, there will be additional public comment opportunities. FWP intends to propose a draft elk management plan to the Fish and Wildlife Commission for adoption prior to the 2023 biennial season setting process. The Fish and Wildlife Commission will consider public comment before deciding on adopting a final elk management plan. Public scoping period runs from June 20th through October 15th. You can submit comments in writing either online at fwp.mt.gov, emailed to fwpwld@mt.gov, or mailed to FWP in Helena. These addresses will be shown at the end of the presentation or can be found on our website. Current population objectives are a primary component of the elk plan. These population objectives are currently expressed as a desired number of elk counted and typically include a range around that value, such as plus or minus 20%. In Region 6, we have numerical population objectives established for District 620, 621, 622, which is 1,400 to 1,650 elk. In Hunting District 630, which previously includes 631 and 632 districts, that objective is 300 to 350 elk. And in 690, the objective is 250 elk. The ranges expressed here are intended to account for anticipated variability in the elk count from year to year. One of the questions that FWP is interested in feedback on is, should we maintain the current form of an elk objective, such as a point value or a fixed range, as shown in the above districts and other districts in the state? Or should we consider alternative population objective forms, such as some percentage above or below the long-term average number of elk counted, which is similar to how mule deer objectives are in the state? Or is there some other approach to establish a population objective? Furthermore, elk populations are classified into objective status using annual or biennial survey data. In Region 6, we use biennial survey data, or surveys flown every other year. Because there is often variation among surveys, would it be more appropriate to use individual surveys, such as we currently do now? Or should we use some kind of average, such as a 3-year average of surveys to determine objective status? Or do you recommend some other approach? An example of this question is for District 620, 621, and 622, which has a population objective of 1,400 to 1,650 elk. The 2022 winter survey indicated just short of 1,300 elk counted, which places us below objective. An alternative to determine objective status would be some kind of average, such as a 3-year average of 1,642 elk over the span of 2020 to 2022. Again, this serves as an example of this question. We'll now dive deeper into each of the individual districts in Region 6 and start with District 620, 621, 622, which are currently combined in the elk management plan. .620 and 621 and 622 current objective is 1,460 to 1,650 elk. Population data from winter surveys is presented in the graph on your screen from 1995 to 2022. As you can see, the amount of variability through the years, but largely the population counts have been above population objective. The average count over this span of time has been 2,204 elk. And over the past 10 years, the average has been 1,950 elk. And again, the most recent count in February of 2022 is just shy of 1,300 elk. We would like your feedback. Should this population objective range, as shown in the green bar on the graph, 1,400 to 1,650 elk, should it remain the same? Should this be higher? And by how much? Or should it be lower? And by how much? Similarly, we have bull objectives for districts 620, 621, and 622. The current bull objective is to maintain at least 30 bulls per 100 cows observed on the winter survey. You can see the variability over time again from 1995 to current, largely above 30 bulls per 100 cows, averaging 46 bulls per 100 cows over that time. And more recently, the 10-year average is 50 bulls per 100 cows. The bull ratio on the 2022 survey was 64 bulls per 100 cows. So again, we would like your feedback. Should there be a bull objective in these districts? If so, is the current bull objective of 30 bulls per 100 cows appropriate? And again, it's currently written as at least 30 bulls per 100 cows. And if this is not an appropriate objective, what should it be? Furthermore, we'd like some feedback on elk distribution across the districts. The map on the screen indicates winter elk locations from our biennial surveys going back to 2011. The size of the red circle indicates, in general, the group size to indicate both abundance and distribution of elk over time. Again, this is winter distribution, but does serve to describe elk distribution in the districts. We'd like your feedback on, are you satisfied with the current elk distribution across these districts? If not, would you suggest a specific objective to address elk distribution in the districts? And lastly, for District 620, 621, and 622, what else should the elk plan include for these hunting districts? I'll now move on to District 630, which is just east of the prior districts I discussed. It is important that I point out 630 now includes previously described districts 631 and 632, as well as district 630. And there is a slight adjustment in the boundary in the southwest portion of the district. So the numbers I'll describe and objectives apply to this district in total. Population for this district is established at 300 to 350 elk in the current elk plan. Again, this is the desired number of elk to be counted on the biennial winter survey. You can see the population level presented on the graph from 1995 to current, and the two black bars representing that objective range, 300 to 350 elk. There are times when the population has been below or at objective, but primarily has resided above objective. The blue line represents the total count in 631, 632, and 630 over the span of time, while the orange line describes the new boundary of 630 and where those elk surveys had occurred and the total number of elk that would have been counted in the new described 630. So that's, again, the orange line describes the current boundary going back over the past 10 years. The average count between 95 and 2022 is 481 elk. Again, that largely has been above objective. The 10-year average, so again, the average over the past 10 years back to about 2012 is 318 elk. And that it describes the average that the orange line is shown here. In 2022, we counted 254 elk in the newly described District 630, which is below objective. So we want your feedback. Should the objective range stay the same at 300 to 350 elk? Should it be higher? And if so, by how much? Or should it be lower? And if so, by how much? Full objectives for District 630 are the same objective that we discussed in District 620 through 622, and that is at least 30 bulls per 100 cows observed on the winter elk survey. So this would be post-season, of course. The graph represents, in the blue line, bull ratios since 1995 across the previously known 631, 632 boundary. And the orange line represents the bull ratio if we account for it in the new hunting District 630 boundary. The average over time is 61 bulls per 100 cows, so we are above that at least 30 bulls per 100 cows. The 10-year average is 64 bulls per 100 cows. And in 2022, on the winter survey, we observed 55 bulls per 100 cows. So again, we'd like your feedback. Should there be a bull objective? And if so, what is the current objective appropriate? If not, what should it be? The map on the screen describes elk distribution since 2013 on winter elk surveys. Again, the group sizes are indicated by size of the circle, and generally describes their location across the district. You'll also note the elk group and sizes that we observe in the far eastern side of District 622, which would previously have been in District 631. So again, we'd like your feedback. Are you satisfied with the current elk distribution in these districts, or in this district, District 630? And if not, would you suggest a specific objective to address this distribution? Lastly, for District 630, what else should the elk management plan include for this hunting district? We'll now move on to hunting district 690 in the western portion of Region 6. This includes the Bears Paw Mountains down through the Missouri Breaks south of Havre and south of Chinook. This includes what was previously hunting district 680 and was combined into one district 690 several years ago. The population objective for District 690 is 250 elk, and there is a range of 225 to 275 elk. The graph on the screen describes in blue the total count on a winter elk surveys since 2001, or over about the last 20 years. The yellow line describes that population objective of 250 elk. As you can see, during the early points of the elk survey, we were near and slightly below and above average, or above and below objective, excuse me. And then starting around 2009-10, we have been largely above objective. The average count is 450 elk on the winter survey, and the average over the last 10 years is 522 elk. In 2021, which is the last time we surveyed the elk population in 690, considering this is a biennial survey, we counted 1,026 elk. So please give us your feedback. Should the objective range remain the same, that being a point value of 250 elk? Should it be higher? And if so, by how much? Or should it be lower? And if so, how much? There is also a bull objective for District 690. The bull objective there is to maintain at least 10 bulls per 100 cows. The graph describes bull ratios on the winter elk surveys over the past 20 years, with the blue line being that level of 10 bulls per 100 cows. The average over the past 20 years has been 63 bulls per 100 cows. Last 10 years, that average has dropped to 43 bulls per 100 cows. And in 2021, excuse me, not 22, but 2021 on the survey, the ratio was 46 bulls per 100 cows. So again, we've maintained at least 10 bulls per 100 cows and oftentimes greatly exceeded that. We'd like your feedback on should there be a bull objective in District 690? If so, is the current objective appropriate? And if not, what should it be? The map on your screen now describes winter elk distribution from those elk surveys across District 690. The size of the circle again represents relative size of the elk herd observed, with distribution shown largely across the areas on the south end of the Bears Paw Mountain. We'd like your feedback. Are you satisfied with current elk distribution across the district? If not, would you suggest a specific objective to address elk distribution in District 690? And again, what else should the elk plan include for District 690? Are there other specific objectives that you would recommend? The last set of districts that I'll speak about are what we refer to as our prairie agricultural districts, largely north of Highway 2 and east of Fort Peck Reservoir. These include for Region 6, District 600, 640, 650, 652, and 670. And within the current elk plan, districts 701 and 703 in region 7 are also included. There are no numerical objectives for these districts. Rather, the objective is to maintain elk numbers as low as possible to address landowner tolerance, the high potential for agricultural damage, and to minimize chronic wasting disease, or CWD. So again, there are no stated objectives. The season structure, which has been a general 5-week season with a general elk license for either sex, as well as an archery season for either sex. And this has been utilized to maximize elk harvest opportunity. And lastly, we have a CWD objective for the state to maintain under 5% prevalence. And this goal is in our CWD management plan, but complements what we have for an elk objective for the district. So we'd like your feedback. Should there be an elk objective or range, or should it stay the same as where we have it? Or should there be a numerical objective of some sort, higher or lower? And what should that objective be? Because of the limited and widely distributed nature of elk across these districts, we do not fly aerial surveys for elk. Rather, we use harvest at the district or the hunting district scale to generally describe elk distribution and elk abundance across those districts. So in the Region 6 Prairie Ag districts, on average, we harvest 21 elk per year. And since 2012, 209 elk have been harvested in Region 6 in these districts, including 150 bulls and 59 cows or antlerless elk. For comparison, in Region 7 in their Prairie Ag districts, 1,106 elk have been harvested over the past 10 years, including 712 bulls, 394 cows. An average is about 111 elk a year. So we would like your feedback on the current elk distribution. And if you have any suggest any specific objectives to address elk distribution. And similarly to previous districts, what else should the elk plan include for district 600, 640, 650, 652, or 670? This concludes the presentation of the Region 6 elk districts and questions related to population objectives. We would like to hear from you. Again, written comment is most valuable and will be accepted either online on the web page shown on your screen. You can also go to our website at fwp.mt.gov and find the box that's shown on your screen. You might have to scroll down on the web page to find that. And that will link you to the online commenting. This is probably the easiest way to comment. You can also mail comments to Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, Attention Wildlife at P.O. Box 200701, Helena, Montana 59620. Or you can email them again to fwpwld@mt.gov. Thank you for watching this presentation, and thank you for staying involved in elk management in Montana.